So I want to welcome to Blether with Barberra today our special guest and a local hero, actually, Suzy Rook. Suzy is a 6 times capped international ex-rugby player for women's international team. She's a social worker. She's a mum. She's a wild swimmer. She is a survivor of cancer, and she's also going to be starting a new fantastic challenge, which we'll hear all about, I've no doubt, through the podcast. So welcome, Suzy. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you, and thanks for inviting me on this today. That's great. I'm good
So
today.
I think what
I was going to say it's nice and dry here at the minute, but I was going to say
it is. It's not, and you know what? It chucked it down yesterday, didn't it? Because we're
it did.
local. Me and Suzy, we sort of live not very miles apart, so we both get the same weather. And yesterday was horrific weather all
It
day.
was
It was definitely staying in day.
very
I'm just
cool.
going to start with your latest challenge. Let's just get that out in the open about what
Mhm.
you've decided you're going to do. So, do you want to tell our audience what your next health challenge is going to be?
Yeah, so kind of back to September last year, I was kind of reaching a plateau with my rugby training, thinking like I'm getting fairly fit now, and like I like doing my swimming and my cold water therapy every day. And I thought I seen something come up. I think it was maybe like on Facebook or something, like the Arctic ice swimming, and I thought, I quite fancy that because I could stay in the water on New Year's Day and stuff like 58 minutes. Like I did it from like 2000 till nearly every year apart from when I was pregnant. And I thought, I think I could be in the water long enough to do a mile. Not thinking remotely of actually the logistics and the actual distance of this challenge, and thought, I'm going to apply for it. So I contacted Rami at the International Ice Association and said, look, I'm quite interested in doing either the Antarctica or the Arctic Ice Mile. And then, of course, I got a massive operation in my throat on the September, which turned out to be throat cancer, well, thyroid cancer. And didn't really think much more of it, and thought, oh, I didn't actually think about it because it was so chaotic at the time with the diagnosis and trying to get through that and being off work and stuff, that I never gave it another thought until
Yeah.
the start of the year. And I got this email from obviously the expedition leader and said, look, we've got spaces in June if you still want to try and attempt the ice mile. And I'm thinking, what is this email? And then I was remembering, I was like, oh, I applied for this last year. And I thought, what have I done? I thought, my God. And I spoke to my husband. I said, look, this ice mile things came up. Like, what do you think? So I've only had the all clear from like that there's nothing else happening, no treatment required, really kind of the end of 2025. So
Well,
still
congratulations on
quite,
that, by the way.
yeah, it's still quite fresh, like really just kind of navigating the fact that I had the operation and the recovery from that. And then all of a sudden I'm like doing this daily ice challenge that I was already doing. So I was already doing a 92-day challenge, currently on like day 73, I think. Then all of a
Yes.
sudden I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm going to attempt an ice mile. And like my husband's like, sorry, what? And then I'm like, yeah, it does sound quite silly when I mention it out loud, doesn't it? And he's like, oh, do you know what? See if you think you could do it, go for it. Because actually you'll probably be one of the people that would manage it. So then I kind of was like, I don't know. You know, that kind of self-doubt thing, you think, am I being a little bit on the edge of what you're basically capable of? So I thought, I got that kind of nervous feeling, and then I thought, no, I'm just going to go for it. So I messaged back Rami and said, look, yeah, I do want to book on, and if there's a space in June, I accept it. So now I've got to try and do a mile of ice cold swimming in under 25 minutes. I mean, and I'm by no means a good swimmer. Like, I get by with the cold water, I think, because I've got the sports background and I use it to manage my anxiety and high stress. So I can cope with the cold water, but I am by no means a swimmer. Like, I am 15 stone rugby player who uses brute force for everything. So basically, I'll be on the brink of the timing to do breaststroke in 25 minutes. So because of that, I've took a little bit of instruction from local kind of swimmers and swim instructors, and they're saying, look, have a look at your front crawl, because actually if you're in the water for less time, that's great, and you'd be faster. So Basically, I'm having to retrain myself to do the front crawl, and I did my first open water front crawl this morning, a week
Oh,
later.
well done. And you didn't drown, because I struggle with front crawl. I can't do the whole breathing thing. It's got to be breaststroke, because otherwise I get out of puff and, oh, God, I can't do it. No.
Well, I was the same, but I've had a little bit of instruction in one-to-one with two local JPs that are very, very supportive and really, really good friends actually now, and they do a lot of their own
Oh, God.
kind of swimming. So I've been in 3 pool sessions with them in the last week, and I've managed to go from not being able to do one length of front crawl, and then we did it on Sunday and I did a kilometre. So I did a kilometre front crawl as soon as I knew the technique and how to breathe. Um, so now I'm like, yeah, like we need to remember, but it's so hard to remember all the different parts because it's not about the speed with front crawl. It's all
Yeah.
about the technique. So like I said earlier, I use brute force. So it was funny because one of the local guys in Kirkcudbright swimming pool said, look, do me a favour, Susie, and swim as fast as you can for 20 metres on the front crawl that you've learned. So I did it. And then he said, right, everything I've taught you today in this 10, 20 minutes that I'm speaking to you, going to go and show me your slowest stroke that you can do for the same as what you've just bashed it out in 20. And I did the really slow stroke, got everything that he taught me on that 10 minutes, and it was 4 seconds quicker, the slow one, to what I had done when I'd bashed it.
Because you've got the movement, because you're
Because
putting
you've
your
got the
arms in.
glide, the
Yeah.
techniques. I'm like, so I honestly have got past through everything in my life with just absolute brute force and probably your built-in athleticism. But then I'm like learning this new skill. So I've never done front crawl in the open water, and I did it this morning, and I think we went out 200 or 300 metres and back. And yeah, I had my head fully in and the goggles on, and proper wild swimmer, I say.
And where did you swim this morning? Moss Yard
down at
or?
cross down at Cross Michael Marina in the loch, so it
Oh,
was
I'm
3
Locken, yeah.
degrees. 3 degrees.
Right. See, just to add, people might not know, we sort of cross paths as wild swimmers, me and Susie. Susie's a bit more
Yes.
hardcore, as I say. She's on the middle of a 100-day challenge with a wild swimming. So she's every day. I'm sort of twice a week. But we do swim in very sort of similar locations. And
Yes.
I've got to say, I haven't been in an inland waterway since winter hit, because last time I went to Penningham Ponds it was so cold I thought I was going to die of cold shock. So I much prefer the sea. It just feels warmer
Yeah.
to me, the
It
sea,
is
than
warmer
going in
though.
locks.
It is
It is,
definitely
isn't
warmer.
it?
So the sea the now, so I think if I remember it rightly, the sea is 2 full months behind where you are at the weather. So the now we're getting really, really cold sea now because it's obviously November and December's tides now coming into our land now. So it's cold. It's sitting about the same as the loch, would you believe it? So the
Oh,
loch
is
is
it?
about, yeah, the loch's about 3 and 4 degrees. Obviously, the 5 day snap we had 0 and it was frozen and we were all in ice dipping, but they both sit between 4 and 5. It's not been higher than 7 now, I don't think, since about
Yeah.
mid-December.
I think New Year's Day was the last day I was in, because I've not been very well for a week and a bit, and it was 4 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, that is cold.
It was
That is.
fine.
So, you know, anything under 5 degrees is classed as ice swimming. It's not actually cold swimming. You're actually into the realm of ice swimming at that point. Or ice
Well,
dipping.
it was ice ducking. It was
I
10 minutes
know.
out.
So I've been obviously doing a lot of research for the ice mile and the ice kilometre, but I've also got the option, if I don't manage to do the mile, there's an ice kilometre and they'll let me go past the different poles for the meterage. So it's either 1,000 metres or 1,600 metres, and I'm actually going to be doing it on my 38th birthday on the 9th of June.
Oh, well, fantastic. I mean, that is such
Happy
an amazing
birthday.
coincidence to be doing such a challenge
I
and
know.
doing it on your birthday. And obviously, as we've talked prior to this interview, a lot of the drive, I suspect, comes from the bad news that you got last year, and obviously the
Yeah.
treatment process, and because it's not just the physical. As a person like myself, I've got the scars of
Yeah.
prostate cancer removal, and you've
Yes.
got the scars of
And
the
I've got
throat cancer
the
removal.
big scar.
It's the psychological that
Yeah.
is the hardest thing to get over. I found a lot of people find. I don't know if you think the same.
Yeah, no, I think as well, like, I mean, I've always kind of struggled with quite high function anxiety. I think due to difficulties probably right from childhood and into my early adulthood, I've always had quite high function anxiety, and I think now I've been looking into it as well in the last kind of 6 months, and ADHD kind of type symptoms as well. So constantly be somebody that runs on that fight or flight response and needs the dopamine hit. Like I've been like that since I can remember. And I think there's been quite a lot of few incidences of like everybody, to be honest, like trauma and losses that kind of hit your journey along the way and just knock you down. And I think being able to have sport and stuff that makes your resilience kind of like a toolkit for your resilience, I would say. So cold water therapy I started in 2021. I
Oh,
had
wow.
returned back to work after having a premature baby who was born really, really early, and the whole trauma of that, and then to go back
Mm.
and work in the child protection team during COVID. I had definite symptoms of PTSD,
Yeah.
100%.
That's right. Yeah.
And being a sports person, I had looked at therapeutic stuff and had actually Googled like how can I get rid of like stress or symptoms of kind of trauma and that kind of really high
Mm.
end stuff. And I came across Wim Hof. That's who I Googled initially when I started this.
Yeah.
And I came across him. And I tried it one day. I had started a new job. I left actually children and family social worker role and went into justice, which is a different kind of um, realm. You're not dealing with children, you're then going into adults. And I remember at the time I was changing that. And I was over in Stranraer one day and I thought, I'm going to try it in the sea. And I thought, I've got my swimming stuff with me and a towel. I'm in Stranraer. There's a loch, like the rock, I think it's a Loch Ryan. I'm going to go
Yes.
down on my lunch break and I'm going to try it. And instantly I was like, the brain noise just went away. Like all the
You,
brain noise, the stress and stuff just went
you're
away.
sort of hooked,
So
aren't you?
yeah,
I
and that
think,
was
yeah, I don't think
October.
people get that. I started it a year after you.
Yeah,
No, 2023, sorry, with Sarah Redmond, the local
yeah,
coach, because of my own anxiety and
yes,
recovery from the prostate cancer. I'd seen
yeah.
the benefits of all of this, and I didn't want to go back to doctors, and I didn't want to
No,
go and have pills. So I thought, oh, we'll try that. So I get that
and
completely.
I'm similar, yeah, because I've always been like, I've always definitely been somebody that struggled, but I said, I always say this now when I can realise it and look back, I struggled, but I was
Mm,
silently struggling. I didn't tell anyone. I was this larger than life character. I was always laughing and joking, but actually there was somehow not just quite ticking over. I felt quite low. I'd be up
mm,
manically high, or I'd be really low if I wasn't training or outside. So for
mm,
me, it was like a light bulb moment. I went in October, and then I don't know if you remember in 2021, just the year after COVID, there was a lot
mm.
of cold water therapy coming out because people had used it as a 1 hour a day for
Yes,
COVID.
yes.
So there was a 30-day challenge in the November in 2021, and I literally have hardly missed a week since then. In fact, I've probably been in pretty much every week, for at least 3 or 4 times a week.
I think that's just testament probably to your sports background, isn't it?
I
That
think so.
determination
Yeah.
to
And it's
go
finding
keep at
something
it.
that works as well. Like I did initially, I was competitive when I first did it. I was competitive because I did a 30-day challenge in November 2021, and then I thought, Susie, you're letting this become a competitive thing as well instead of just doing it for you, like in your mental health. Like I was constantly like, I'm going to swim that breaststroke every day for a mile, and I did a mile a day so many
Mm,
times a month. And then May last year, I did it for a charity, I think last May, I can't remember. I think it's maybe back Onside, the suicide charity that I'm
yeah.
supporting again. But I picked it again in May last year. And you know what? I did it that much that I then didn't enjoy it because I thought, I'm doing it again as a task focused thing. Like it's not just me doing it for my well-being. I'm making it competitive, which
Mm,
I quite often do with everything, to be fair, because I think it's just built into you. But like going back to what Tim's saying though, like it's what I like doing for me. I get my brain completely turns off, and I get an hour, 2 hours away from the brain noise and away from the anxiety and the kind of
yeah.
ooh, everything's so much like you just don't have it
Yeah.
when you've been in.
You do. I get that, and I totally agree. I this last year highly likely prognosis from doctors and
Hmm.
specialists that I'm autistic, which
Right.
after living for 50 years, well,
Yeah.
we'll say 45 years,
Yeah.
when you think about it, and then you go, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's difficult
um,
that because actually I get what you're saying with that because and if you're only kind of starting to learn that over the last, I would say, at least 10 years, people have said to me, like, quite sincerely, like, do you think you might be having ADHD? And I'd be like, absolutely no. I've got a sports background. I like to be busy. Like, I was absolutely in denial. Then before I went off, obviously, with the throat situation, I would say that I was starting to realise that there maybe was a little bit of truth behind that, but I was still very much in denial. So right before I had my surgery, I actually contacted a private provider and did the initial testing, and like absolute clear cut ADHD and combined type. And they kind of had all that to process as well right before this surgery and right before the thyroid cancer. So it's been a lot.
It does help though, I find, because you keep mentioning the noise.
Yeah.
Unless I'm swimming or I'm
Yes.
sleeping, then there is, from the moment my eyes open to the moment my eyes shut, unless
Yeah.
I'm swimming, as I say, there's a constant noise in my head and it never
Totally.
stops.
Yeah.
And it's
I
all the
get that.
stuff.
Yeah. Same. And as well, like with the noise. I mean, unless you know what that noise is like, you obviously do. And it's not like a noise, it's an irritating noise. It's just like, I need to do this. I've got to do that.
Yeah.
I've got to do that. Like, you can't
Yeah.
prioritize what you need to do. So
No.
you're then
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
also don't
And it,
sleep very much. So people
oh,
quite often say, how do you fit it in? And I'm like, do not shame yourself because comparing yourself to me, because I do not sleep. I sleep about 5 hours per night.
oh
Because people
wow.
often
Oh
say, I
well,
don't know how
that's
you do it, you're amazing. And I'm like, no, 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 like I don't sleep. So I have to fill my time with not sleeping, doing other things.
weird stuff. So you're
Yes.
just obviously constantly busy. I mean, that
Yeah.
leads me on to my sort of first question. So, as you represented Scotland six
Yeah.
times in your
13, 13,
13,
13. I've
13
got 13
times,
international caps.
13 international caps, I'd stand corrected. And I blame Google for that because I Googled how many caps you got and it said six.
Did
Um,
it? How
you
rude.
did. And you were a prop, I
I
believe.
was
Is
a
that
prop.
right?
Yeah, I was a
Yes.
prop. So I've got 13 international, but I've also got a nomad cap against South Africa. So that's when the Scottish, basically it was before the British Lionesses. We had the nomads that are like kind of people that were ex kind of internationals at the end, but still fit
Mm.
and still playing. So we played against South Africa as well in 2014. So I've got played against
Okay.
South Africa for the nomads as well.
So obviously that position demands physical strength, obviously a lot of mental toughness and commitment. How
Yes.
did the elite sport shape your relationship with your body and health long before illness ever entered your picture? So obviously, I think you may have touched on this already, but it'd be great to get a
Yeah.
bit more clarity.
So I remember being at high school, certainly in this area, there was no rugby. There was not rugby offered at that point. So I actually was very athletic at school. I was like the sports champion and stuff, I think 5 years in a row, and was very, very sporty into kayaking, canoeing, windsurfing, swimming, everything that you could do, I did. And I was with the boys down at Crossmichael Marina all the time. So I was very sporty, very tomboyish because I've got obviously the three brothers. So I was always quite sporty and always kind of, I would say, quite shamed about it. I was like notorious at school. People thought I was scary, and it was just because I was sporty. And I remember going up to Dundee to uni and like really being quite in a vulnerable place, not really knowing much about my identity because I was kind of sporty. Then you go up to uni away from everything that you know, and then you've got
Mm.
all these different people that like they're like wanting you to do different sports. And at that point, I was kind of doing sprinting. I played a little bit of Gaelic football, and then I
Oh,
got asked. I got asked once, like, see how you're quite fast and sporty, and you like to go walking and that all the time. Have you ever tried rugby? And I remember thinking, no, I haven't tried rugby, but I guess I can sprint and I'm a runner. I wasn't always quite the big, strong statue that I am now. I was a 13 initially at rugby. Like, I started as a 13 and I finished on 13 caps, which I always think is really, really quite relevant.
yeah.
And 11 number 13 as well. So,
Oh, dear. Oh, wow.
yeah, I started off actually as a centre. I played for Morgan, former pupils at high school up in Dundee
Okay.
initially, and I started doing the running, and very, very quickly, that was me, found my place. I thought, do you know what? They accept you from all shapes and sizes. So I did get quite a lot of body shaming at school because I was not a massive girl, but I was a big strong girl, and I
Mm.
was with the boys and just like being outside. Struggled with female friendships as well, and we'll get back onto that because that's exactly why I set up Swim Queens, because I struggle with females and I struggle. I struggle in any sort of setting with females because I prefer boys because they're more like me with the sportiness and they don't get involved in drama and toxicity. So when I then got set up in with the rugby, I realised actually they're not all like that, girls. Girls are not all toxic
Mm.
and not all kind of moody, hormonal, and want to like upset you. So that helped me that way. And because there's a shape and size for every position in rugby, it was honestly just where I needed to be. And I say all the time, like it's a cliche, but I say that rugby saved me because if you go back to what I was saying about the kind of ADHD stuff, like
Yes.
always chasing a dopamine hit, I was quite not risk taking, I would say, but I was quite keen to do everything. I never ever got involved with kind of drugs or anything like that, but I was quite a drinker back in the day. I was quite into drinking and partying and
Yeah.
you know the dopamine hits that I was like way partying.
Yeah.
Now when I look back, I think no, I think you were probably masking ADHD and just trying
Yeah.
to fit in and manage it.
Self-medicating. I did a lot
Yeah,
of that. Yeah,
yeah,
strangely, I'm just going to diverge. I follow a person who's qualified to talk about autism,
yeah.
and their post today I noticed on Instagram, whether it came out today or not, talks about the fact of the strong connection now between addictions and
Yes,
autism
yes.
and the
Yeah,
self-medicating. And
100%.
people thinking that ultimately, because I was heavily in love with alcohol and partying,
Yeah,
and
and
it was
same.
sort of thinking, oh, I'll just go out on a party and just trying to get, the
Yeah.
constant hits and whatnot.
I
Um,
know, and it's something that did impact me, I have to say, because when I was in the Scotland setup, because I mean, I only played 2 seasons of rugby before I was selected for international age grade rugby, but it was something that definitely followed me in, like that drink and alcohol and party lifestyle did not coincide with what they wanted to mould me as an athlete. And I
mm,
had very, very many occasions where my coaching team were like, you have to stop the partying, Susie. Like,
yeah,
you are so naturally talented with rugby, but the partying is driving everyone mad. You're turning up at training after being out on nights out, and
hanging out.
you're naturally better than everyone else because your natural ability, but you're not training and you're not putting the hard yards in like everybody
Yeah, yeah,
else.
no.
So I've got
You,
a little bit of regret about that. I've spoke to my husband about that a lot in the last kind of few years because obviously, if you don't know, but my international career was really kind of short lived because I fell pregnant and found out at Murrayfield.
oh,
I found out, and I was playing in the Scottish Cup final in Murrayfield and staying in the stadium, and I was really lethargic running about, and um, eventually we found out at the rugby that actually I was 20 weeks pregnant. It was just 5 weeks before my wedding, so my international career was kind of cut short with pregnancy. It doesn't happen now because obviously you're training to get back to it, but at the point in 2015 when I fell pregnant with my first son,
yeah.
that kind of, but I was already on a slippery slope because the partying atmosphere and the partying animal in me didn't ever leave. I'd managed to do both at the same time. But
But
like now, I would be like, knowing what I know now,
yeah.
and that I was managing kind of, I would say, the ADHD, and I was managing the masking, and like just literally on this hamster wheel of self destruction. I think like now I would have probably done it different. But you don't know that at the time, and you're just
No.
trying to get through the trench at the time that what you're dealing with. So, but I
But that
think it's gave
shows.
me resilience.
Well, you. The resilience leads me to another question. So we're obviously being background in rugby, still playing
Yeah,
rugby, cold water
yeah,
swimming, social
yeah,
working, which is a difficult job, motherhood, which is a difficult job.
yeah,
They're all obviously high pressure roles.
yeah.
So what did resilience mean to you before your cancer diagnosis, and how has that defined you since? How has that definition changed as well?
I guess I feel, and I don't know if it's an internalized kind of self worth thing, but I've always felt quite up against it because I was never that popular at school with the girls and stuff. Then I went away to uni, and because of my own doing, like my partying and stuff, I
Mm,
always had that feeling of kind of, right, you're definitely talented and you've got something in rugby, but you want to also be a party girl. Like I always had to battle my own mind. Like I've
yeah,
always had this inner voice that's like, oh, it won't matter if I go out tonight. Like my coach will never notice. Like I was always constantly wanting to do the right thing, but then the inner chimp was always just constantly at me. So I think eventually what's happened is as I've got older and more mature, that inner chimp's managed to be tamed slightly with sports and positive stuff that I do to manage, like going outside. I've always worked out. I've always played a sport, even in my pregnancies and back from the pregnancies, I've always got quite quickly back to sport. So I think the resilience. Well, I mean, I played for Scotland. Like the 13 caps, I think we won one game in Holland. Like I think you constantly get beaten in Scottish sport initially,
Yeah.
and the resilience that gave you, because you still had to train the same as everyone that was winning.
So do you think your resilience then sounds like your resilience isn't sort of, because obviously in health, in life, we've got nurture and nature, haven't we? We've got those two ways of learning and becoming the people we become as adults. So it sounds to me like resilience is just a natural thing for you because you've had that throughout your life, even at school. Having to deal with what you said past, with obviously being different to the normal girls.
Yeah, we had a different, like a lot of people had quite a difficult upbringing. I mean, my mum did everything that she could, and I have an absolute amazing stepdad. But in the early years, like my dad just disappeared off the face of the moon, I always say, and didn't really have him in my life till I was like 28. So I think things like that, and I mean, I had a mum that was an absolute workhorse, ran a pub initially, and then retrained as a social worker with 5 children. And was very hard working with my stepdad was very hard working as well. And I think I had a granny who was off kind of Irish background, and just all these little bits all come together, and that I think that makes your resilience just natural.
I think totally true. I have similar backgrounds, not great upbringing, poor, working class, single mum most of the time. Dad's not
we
really around.
we weren't poor by any means. I had a very kind of affluent upbringing eventually, but I think things like a rejection and abandonment stuff definitely play in your resilience, because
definitely
that's your inner insecurity, and that never goes away really, because that's your foundation.
I
never
totally
feeling
agree.
good enough, and that, and like I think that not feeling good enough means you absolutely tank anything that you do, because you don't want to feel like you're not good enough, so you absolutely almost do it enough. But then what would happen with me, I would be having them feelings like I'm not enough, but I'm going to try. But then alcohol and drinking and stuff would come in. Like your resilience would be picked away at, like, obviously these wee kind of fireworks that come in. But you'll know with me as well that if you have got any sort of adverse experiences in your childhood, that's why they come into your
and I'm in therapy at the moment. Thank God I've got my therapist back. I mean, this isn't the first time I've had therapy. I love therapy. I've had therapy.
I think we all need a bit of therapy. Everyone's got some checkered past, haven't we? Really?
I think I've been in therapy since 2007, on and off. But there's a point. You mentioned the alcohol thing. For me, it's not anymore, because I haven't drunk heavily like I used to do.
No, I don't either now.
20 years.
I'm about 10, I think now.
It's that internal bit, isn't it? It's that constant picking of you're not good enough thing.
A
lot of it comes out of autism. A lot of it comes out of not having the support as a kid from parents for whatever reason. So we all come to an obstacle block. Sometimes
a lot of it can be self-sabotage as well, because I've been looking into a bit of it. So I did have a bit of a sports therapist at the time, because she was like you're one of the most talented props that have probably came through a Scotland jersey, but you just keep on sabotaging it. You just keep on partying, and you're just not in the game, and you're frustrating your teammates because they're putting 100% in, you're putting 80% in, and you're naturally better than them, but you're pissing people off, Susie. So it was that whole, I think I was thinking, oh, if I fail at this, right, that's on me. So I think quite often I was just going out and partying because I was thinking, maybe, well, I'll party anyway. What's the worst that can happen?